So,
and away we go.
And this is episode 28, part 3. And there has been a mass unaliving, shooting downtown here. 5 miles from here?
Less than like three.
About 3 miles from here.
Yeah.
Just last night, about what was it? Either 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I think it was. Anyways, right around bar close, and I guess what we're talking about is actually the already existent misinformation campaign, because at this point we know that 3 people were killed, 3 people are seriously injured, 14 people were shot.
3 critical?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We know sort of what happened, but we really don't have a clue who the shooter was. We know he's dead, but we don't really know who he was in terms of what his motivations were. And what the small bit of what's being said is really weird. They made some comment about it could be tied back to some form of terrorism, but that's not. They didn't say any more about that. And
right.
so
what form of terrorism?
So why would they even say that if they can't define it well enough to not just panic people? Because especially considering the fact that we just started a war. There's the theory that somehow it's tied to that, which I don't think it is, but people are going to speculate that could be the case if they're throwing out terms like terrorism.
Oh, if they're, like you said, if they're going to say that, they need to say at least a little bit more about it than just that, because
But they didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
You would have to have a reason
Right.
that you would connect it to terrorism. Like, hey, we found this, we think it's terrorism. Or possibly, look, if there's more than one person involved, they don't want to say what, because they don't want to let them clue in that if it is, a terrorist group.
Oh, and just to give a few details, and again, that's all we have is a few details. There's a bar downtown. I guess it's been around for a while. I'm not super familiar with it. Buford's, is that it? Right. Anyways, around, like I said, 1 or 2 a.m., this truck just outside of the bar, guy with a shotgun out of the side of one of the windows, or I don't know if it was shot. A weapon.
I think they said a pistol.
Pistol. Anyways, starts shooting at people coming out of the bar. Turns his truck around, gets out, and then starts approaching even more. And that's when the cops showed up. He gets shot. Whole thing probably lasted all of 5 minutes.
Not even.
Yeah.
Less than 2 minutes.
Right.
And from start to finish, I think is what they said.
But it was clearly, for whatever reason, he was targeting people within that bar and or that district.
Right, so the cops are always down there on 6th Street. They're all over the place, right? So it didn't take long. The guy got off a couple shots and got killed. So that's all we know. And there's this thing about some truck, but once again, this is just people talking. This is not official words. There's, because this bar, in my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, once again, if you're watching this, but I think this bar does host LGBTQ events from time to time.
It probably does, but I looked it up and it's not listed as, what you would consider as a LGBTQ
venue.
Venue. I mean, it's
probably friendly, but just...
Yeah, it's friendly, but not like Oil Can Harry's or one of those kind of places. Yeah.
Here's the situation where it could have been one guy got in a beef and a scuffle over there, decided he was going to come back and go after some people. Could have been that simple.
Hopefully it was that simple. I don't want.
But what do usually ends up happening when somebody goes at these bars and it's LGBTQ? They just got it out for these types of people.
Could also be the case. We don't know.
Don't know. Just complete speculation. So let's just put it this way: it's all speculation. There's no.
And I guess what we're telling you is until the official word comes out about any additional details, try not to speculate. Well, let me rephrase. You can speculate in your own head all you want. You can speculate with your friends all you want, but don't spread that speculation until we actually hear further.
This is what you think happened.
Right.
This is what could have happened. I don't think that's what happened, but maybe.
Yeah, we don't know, and it's probably not going to help anybody to spread what we don't know.
Here's the reason I brought it up.
Okay.
I wanted to bring it up because I'm going through the comments, right?
Yeah.
And of course, here we are in Texas. So the vast majority of the comments, and maybe this is only because only assholes like this comment on things like this without saying oh, what a tragedy. Oh, I bet you they had a nose ring. I bet you got the blue hair. I bet you it's a trans person. And it's no,
okay,
dude.
I see your point, yeah.
And it made me so angry because it's dude, it's never that. It's always the opposite every single time. One guy said, oh, the number of trans people killed that shot and killed people in the United States is higher than those of ICE.
That's not
That
even
is
close
actually the
to
opposite.
In fact, there is no way that could be true. If you look at the number, just based on the number of trans people that exist and the number of ICE agents out there.
You're saying the number of murders.
Well, I know, but still, it's almost impossible for that to be true in any.
Well, I mean, it's possible to be true.
It's
If
possible.
one trans person killed 10 people. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So we had at least 4 or 5 I can name off the top of my head that ICE killed.
Yeah.
And then
and that's within the
directly,
and that's the first month of the year.
Right, they directly just shot and murdered, right?
Yeah.
That's not to say the ones that they left to die, like this dude they took.
Oh, like the ones in Minnesota where they take them, and then when they put them back out into society, they have like almost no clothes on.
Well, you heard about that blind guy,
under
right?
Yeah, and it's under 30 degrees, and they have they're dropping them off in the woods away from anybody else.
Well, they dropped off a blind man, and he was trying to walk home, and he died.
Well,
you heard about that? Right?
I did actually. Yeah.
So how many people are dead because ICE was being vicious and cruel and putting, just
doing that kind of crap? Not necessarily the whole to the head, but it might as well have.
So how many trans deaths this year? Trans people killed somebody, and did it have anything to do with? Maybe it was a domestic squabble. They don't go around just shooting people because they're fucking. Right.
I mean, yes, there are almost definitely some cases. I'm not saying there were 0 cases, but geez, come on. Yeah.
It's not, and they're not doing it to be terrorists, to terrorize people. So yeah, this is all fucking stupid. But anyways, that really ticked me off. Look, we're in Austin, right? And there are some liberals here. There's very few progressives in Austin, and
or as I put it, we're not as liberal as we like to pretend we are.
Right. I mean, being like a neoliberal is not progressive. That is far right in most progressive countries. Our progressives are right in any other country on the planet. So yeah, there's a lot of neoliberals here. Yes, they're more socially acceptable. Yes, they're more socially aware. Yes, they vote Democrat. But in terms of being true progressives, they're far and few in between. Lots of them say, well, I kind of like to be in the center, which means far right in any other country.
There is no real center. That's why it's bullshit.
Because we're in fascist states.
Yeah.
The right here is, what they say center is right, because we're in fascism, and people here are so indoctrinated and delusional that they don't have even a small grasp or inkling about how bad it really is here, because they just don't. They never read a book, or if they did, they just dismissed it.
Or if they actually see something or somebody talks to them about it, they're like, oh, fake news. Well, no, it's not. We're seeing this with our own eyes. We're watching the video with our own eyes.
The indoctrination is so deep that their brain won't accept news.
Yeah.
They just literally just deny it. Look, any scholar, any person that's has any understanding of this stuff is saying exactly the same thing I'm fucking saying. The same shit we're saying. Al's saying, Anybody of any standing or anybody studying.
And yes, for people who have been saying, yes, it's true, the Republican Party has been semi-fascist for a long time, and
well, this country's been fascist.
And religion of any kind is largely a cult, and all of these things are true, but we've taken a giant step to the right where we've crossed a line and it actually
I'm going to
is
do this
fascism
one last
now.
thing and then wrap this
Sure.
up. Social democracy saved this country from fascism in the 1930s. When FDR became president, this country, just like the rest of the world, was divided into 2 camps, right? Socialism, let's put it this way. Both of them were fascism. You had the communist bent of fascism, and you had the fascism
Right.
from Hitler and Mussolini. Then you had the Stalins, right? And later Mao Zedong and these guys and Pol Pot's. But this is another form of fascism. Look, the whole world was going totalitarianism, right? Except for France, the United States, and Britain.
At that time.
At that time in Australia. The rest of the world was going towards totalitarianism. Now, call it fascism, call it communism. It's all baked with the same ingredients. One's bread, one's a cake. Or one's a cookie, one's a cake. It's the same exact ingredients. Call it what you want. Call it communism, call it fascism, right? Fascism is actually a better term than communism, but that communism was just totalitarianism. That was not communism, as written by Marx and Engels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the whole world was going that direction, right? But in the United States, we went to socialism, a democratic socialism, which is allows for democracy to dictate where we're going to spend this money to get people out of poverty.
Yep.
And to create a thriving middle class for what lasted 50 years, from the 1930s into the 70s. Now, if you've heard me heard other things, I'm repeating myself, but if you haven't, this is what happened from the 1930s to the 70s. There was a huge rise in the middle class, right? The tax rate, look it up if you don't believe me, was 92% on the ultra wealthy up until Eisenhower dropped it to like 89, right? This lasted until like 1970.
73 or so.
Yeah, Reagan.
Yeah.
Reagan was the one who dismantled all this shit. And you know how they did it? It was called the Southern Strategy, and they used racism, bigotry, and misogyny to get to what they wanted to do. And it was after the Civil Rights Act that people, once again, I want my freedom to be as racist, bigot that I want to be. And they're so stupid that they don't think that they are, but they lack the self-awareness to understand why they voted against their own self-interest. When they were all for unions, they were all for the rich getting, taxed 90%. They were all for this stuff until they were brainwashed by a bunch of people against them to vote against themselves because they could be better than someone else. At least before they could be better than someone, and now they can't because of the
Equal Rights Act, which
right,
they're trying to
and
dismantle,
DEI.
honestly. But
And that's why they're getting rid of this DEI. That's why they're getting all this. Make America great again for, the white man, the rich white landowner. So back to day one, square one. And that's all this is. And this, if you look at it, look at the numbers of the middle class and then how everything's just gone down and the rich have gone up. And this is not disputed. You can't dispute this. You can't look at it any other way. I've seen people say, well, yeah, when the tax rate was 90%, that, people just found loopholes and this and that. Yeah, the loopholes was pay your employees better.
Right.
The pay of the employee to the CEO was the difference was so it was like 10, 20 times bigger. But now it's like 2,000 times bigger because there's no incentive whatsoever to reinvest in your company or reinvest in your employees. None. Zero incentive.
Well, and as I'm
To
just
say
gonna
that
tack
there's
this
no
on.
correlation and causation between the two is fucking insanity.
yeah.
That's like saying cigarettes don't cause cancer. You can't make the correlation. Shut the fuck up. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to tell me that it had nothing to do with it. That all these regulations, that all this socialism had nothing to do with the thriving middle class. But when you wanted to give it to minorities and women, all of a sudden, oh shit, man, we can't have this socialism. And that's exactly what fucking happened. And there's no fucking mince in it. There's no way you can fucking worm your way out of it. And go out here and try, and it'll take me 2 seconds to debunk you and call you a fool. So,
Right.
go ahead. And I won't even waste my time. You're a fool. See you later. Bye.
Yep.